Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Maliki Young Pot died inside my chest, ladies and gentlemen. For all my people in the Philippines, Kaibigan, I got you. All right, man. So I got Wesley So versus Igor Kovalenko. And this is Title Tuesday from May 27th. So I kind of went back a little bit, man. I wanted to try to get a game that was interesting, that had some concepts in it, some unbelievable facts. Yes, so, maraming salamat to all of my people coming from the Philippines, and spasibi if you are coming from Ukraine. But if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got D4. Let me turn my volume up. We got D4, we got knight to F6. Now, when you're playing the game of chess, 9 times out of 10, I mean, the biggest goal that people have is play E4, D4. Also, as black, you want to play D4, D5, E4, E5, D5. Just get that perfect center, right? So D4, E4 wants to come. So knight to F6 is basically taking over control of that square. So it's kind of making you prepare to try to play that. So a lot of times you'll see like a D5 type situation, stuff like that. So we actually see bishop G5 immediately. And this is known as the Trompowsky attack. And I honestly think that it's one of Hikaru's like favorite openings to play. Kind of just offbeat, you know, something different. But as you guys see, if you were to remove this knight, you are going to be taking over control of this E4 square. So that is why we see Kovalenko go D5. Because even if you sacrifice your bishop in all of blazing glory, you would be in a situation. Let me move this just a little bit like that. Okay. You would be in a situation where you still, black still has E4 covered. So we got the move E3, we got the move C5, we got bishop taking F6, pawn taking F6. So like I said, as you can see, white does get rid of that knight that is influencing this square, but it's not like that square is just free for the taking. We do see knight F3, we got knight to C6. Now, when you are playing D4, D5, like when you pretty much have this pawn lock, C4 and C5 are very big moves to try to kind of chip away at what your opponent has. And you also definitely want to try to get that move played before you play the knight up here like this. Because, you don't block the pawn in here and you have, some dynamic play available. So there's that. We do see the move C3. We got queen going to B6. And then we do see queen going to B3. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, like, queen takes here and then you double up white's pawns, right? Isn't that like great for me? It's not necessarily great. This is the things you have to think about. Yes, you do have double pawns, right? But you have to think, what are you getting in response to the double pawns? If we were to see something like, let's say, queen taking and then pawn taking, you can say, yes, hooray, I have doubled their pawns. But white now has a half open file that they can have some play on. They might be able to play some like a knight A3 to knight B6. An A6 doesn't really do anything because the rook is hanging on A8. So you have to consider things like that. Also, after pawn takes, knight takes, stuff like this, you do have 2 pawn islands. So all is not completely lost if you are white. But instead of seeing that after queen to B3, we did see the move bishop to E6. Part of queen to B3 was protecting this B2 pawn, but it was also sneakily hitting the D5 pawn. So bishop E6 is just protecting. And then we do see knight B to D2. Now we have a situation where if black does decide to capture, you can capture back with the knight. And either black has to push the pawn or they take here and then you have double hit on D4. So that's kind of like some Scandinavian type or some Carol Khan type ideas. If you flip the board around, you would kind of have a structure similar to this. So for all of you that play the Scandi or the Carol Khan, you know what I'm talking about. Knight to B6 and knight to D5 are some major ideas. We do see the move F5, and this is the novelty of the game. You do kind of want to give your bishop some kind of room to roam. Sometimes you'll see a G6 and maybe bishop to G7, but this is a really, really solid structure here. So you really don't get a lot if you go bishop to G7 in this position here. We do see pawn taking C5 and then bishop taking C5. And because of the situation here, the little Scandi Carol structure, you really don't have any influence on this F2 point. If you were to, let's say, like you played like an E4 opening or something like that, or pushed E4, you would be having to possibly worry about the pressure on F2. So that is why pawn taking here can be a little bit of an issue with this type of a battery, but it is not an issue in this position here. So we're good to go. So we do see bishop going to d3. We got castles by black, and then we do see castles by white. And you guys see the bar kind of go down a little bit. It's unimaginable, but the computer says that this is a blunder. It doesn't say it's just a mistake. It's like, bro, it's a blunder. This is like the worst move you could have made. I'm sure there's worse moves. I mean, you could have maybe played queen here or something like that. Like, you know, there's a lot of moves you could have made that are worse. But to me, I would just say that it's kind of like an inaccuracy or something like that. But yeah, no, the computer's like, don't give Wesley So that much credit. It's a blunder. So I'm like, all right, cool. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video and try to see what move you should make to take advantage of this blunder, go ahead and do so. All right, cool. So, now this is something that you guys hear me say all the time. If you guys watch my stuff, which you should, then you would know that one of the biggest things that I say is when you are considering a move to make, try to look into your opponent's position and see if they have any undefended pieces. If they do, then you might have the ability to exploit it. So if you look from the black perspective, you should see that this bishop is kind of hanging out in the middle of the board all by itself, and there is a way to take advantage of it. And I know I just got done saying how this is such a strong structure against this type of battery, but not in this specific position after you have castle, because check will be coming up. If you did guess bishop takes e3, then congratulations to you. You are a genius. And I don't know what else to tell you, man. You're just like the smartest person on earth. But we got bishop taking e3, pawn taking e3, and then after the queen takes e3, you can block with rook to f2, or you can go king to h1. Those are your only two moves. We do see king going to h1, and then queen takes d3. And pretty much no matter how you slice it, this is black's game to win. They are almost +2. And I mean, they're just up a nice amount of material. They do have 2 extra pawns in this position, so that is really not where you want to be if you are white. But we got humans playing this game. I don't know if you noticed that humans play usually more often than not. It's never over until it's over, or as they say, until the fat lady sings. So yes, we got queen taking b7, so Wesley So does get a little bit of his material back. We got rook f going to c8, just taking care of that knight on c6. The queen goes back down to b3 because you see what's coming. Rook a to b8. Now, I will say this. Black is definitely up a pawn, and they do have some very active rooks. So they are kind of, you know, for choice if I was to guess myself. Wesley So is really just kind of barely holding on, and black is very, very active. So we got queen going to a3. We got the move h6, which the computer is saying, hey, man, that's a little bit of a mistake. It's kind of a passive move. Doesn't really do anything. Knight to g5 wasn't really that bad of a threat anyway. One of the things you do have to think about, obviously you can't move knight to g5 now, but if you did move it at some point, you capturing here, that is really kind of fixing black's pawn structure. So that's not really something to fear. So h6 doesn't really defend against anything. We got knight going over to b3. Now, something I do want to mention in this position here, though, instead of the move h6, the computer really was in love with d4. One of the weaknesses that you do have in your position if you are black is this isolated pawn right here. So if you can get rid of it, it would be great. So they want you to get in a situation where you are forcing a possible situation where white is going to have the damaged structure. So if you did push d4, you would probably be seeing pawn takes d4, queen taking a3, and then now you've doubled white's rook pawns, and then you would be looking at rook to b2, and this really severely activates black. So this is 1000% what black wants to do, and you are actually tying this knight down also to the protection of this one type situation. But like I said, we do not see that. We see h6 and knight to b3. So you kind of see that idea that I was talking about before, that Scandinavian Carol Khan type idea, where you're rerouting this knight to try to like plop down here. We also have some rook possibilities coming into the game, stuff like that. So we got some activity if you are white. We do see knight to c5, and this on the surface is forking these two pieces. It's not the end of the world, though, in this particular situation, because white does not want to capture here, like I said, because of correcting black's chain. And then you have a mass of pawns in the center of the board. So we got queen going to b5. Now, this is actually very instructive, because when you are in a situation where you have gotten attacked, take a second, just breathe a second, and say, hey, man, is there a way that I can retreat in such a way that it's not super passive and it's actually pretty active? Queen to b5 is one of those moves. This is now double attacking the pawn. So when you do retreat, one thing you want to try to be focused and thinking clearly of, is there a way that I can retreat with an attack? So one of the best ways to defend against somebody's attack is to counter attack. And that is what you see Kovalenko doing right here. And not just passively just moving his queen somewhere. So we got rook up to f2 to double protect b2. We do see f4. Knight takes here. Pawn takes. And the reason why this works even before, like I said, it doesn't work is because of the move queen to d6. Now, this is actually a really hard move to find because I think naturally as a human, you're thinking, okay, there's literally anywhere for this knight to go and then my queen is going to be like discovered, right? But the crazy thing is there is really nowhere that the knight can move where it's going to be some explosive discovery. Knowing that, that is why this move right here that is played by Kovalenko is very, very incorrect. Now, the computer says this is a blunder and this is actually like 2.5. Plus for white. So this is actually a true blunder. It pretty much blunders an entire piece. It would be great if you moved the knight where it wasn't recapturable and also wasn't recapturable on, hitting black's queen. So when you see knight taking d4, this is the perfect in-between move because, you're basically saying if you take my queen, I'm going to take your queen and I'm just going to be up an entire piece. There really is no way you slice it where it's not going to be an entire piece up for white here. So Wesley So has literally just like came into the goods. And we do see queen taking b2 here. And you don't really want to take here because the queen is going to retake and then you're up material if you're black. You do want to force the situation, and that is what Wesley So finds here. He goes down swinging with queen takes e6 with check. You have to parry a check if it comes up. There's nothing else you can do. So we do see rook taking e6, and then the rook takes on b2. And you see that Wesley So is up an entire piece. Now, there is some stuff that Kovalenko can try to do to try to kind of hold on. You definitely don't need to be losing any material if you are Kovalenko here. We do see rook going down to e3, double attacking this pawn, and there's not really a great way to completely defend it. You do really want to get rid of this pawn because then you can possibly have a passed pawn of your own. But we do see Wesley So counterattack by going rook to f2. And like I said, black absolutely cannot lose any more material or it's going to start tipping more into Wesley So's favor. So we do see the move g5. We got knight up to f5. You got to be a little careful because you are threatening some stuff like this here. We do see rook going up to e6. We got rook up to f3. Now protecting our own pawn. We got king down to f7. We got the move h3. We got king down to f6. And I'm not really sure if this is a misclick or just like an oversight, but it does hang the h6 pawn, which Wesley So gladly accepts. So after we see knight taking h6 here, we do see Kovalenko resign the game. Like I said, black absolutely cannot lose any more material. If we kind of go a little bit forward and we say, hey, man, let's kind of see like what maybe a variation might look like if you're trying to play as black. Now, this is +4 as white. So it's not like, you're close, like maybe you can kind of, no, there's nothing. If we did see rook to e2, it probably would be one of the more active moves. You would be looking at knight to g4 with check. Your goal is to try to make sure that these pawns do not move. You can possibly move a rook over to f1, push something like, g3. You're breaking down this structure here. You can also go after this pawn, which is pretty much what the computer says is the best thing to do. After king to f5, we got rook to d1 hitting the pawn. After the king goes up and defends, we got rook f to d3, and we're basically tying black down to the defense of pretty much its entire position. After rook goes to c5, we would see this cute little move, knight to h2, and you are redirecting. You got threats coming here. You got threats coming here. You are pressuring this pawn greatly. So there is just nothing left to do. And this is literally the best way that black can play in the position. So that is that. Meriming salamat, the king Makai Bigan. Spasibi if you're coming from Ukraine. And I'll see you guys next time.